Is Craig Waterman a narcissist? In the 2025 film Friendship, Craig Waterman, played by Tim Robinson, is labelled as one. At first glance, it seems obvious, even his own wife accuses him of it. He's selfish, oblivious, and just disastrously out of touch. But watching closely, it becomes clear that the label just doesn't quite fit. Beneath the awkward blunders, the cringeworthy decisions, and the desperate antics lies something recognizably human. A man who is deeply lonely and desperate for connection. What looks like self-absorption is, actually, the aching need to be seen, to belong, and to matter. Because Craig doesn't crave admiration. He craves, well, friendship. Every gut-wrenching, cringe-inducing choice he makes isn't about ego, it's about desperation. And that raises a much bigger question. What happens when loneliness has nowhere to go? For Craig, it mutates into obsession, humiliation, and chaos. But the real twist isn't just watching him fall apart. It's realizing why he does it and just how easily it could be any of us. At work, Craig is alienated. His colleagues find him peculiar. His attempts at belonging come off as strange or out of step. He wants to participate, to be part of something, but he repeatedly hits the wrong notes. He can't even pour his own coffee without making a mess. This alienation isn't just social, it's existential. Craig seems to understand on some level that the world runs on relationships and mutual recognition, but he lacks the social map to reach others. Every interaction is a negotiation he is ill prepared for, and yet he pushes forward. Because the alternative, continued isolation, continued loneliness, is unfathomable. The same pattern shows up in his marriage. On the surface, Craig often looks like a textbook narcissist. He shows no empathy for his wife's post-cancer struggles, he spends money recklessly on a drum kit while she needs a new car, and he is blind to the emotional intimacy she shares with her ex. All of this makes him appear selfish, self-involved, and emotionally absent. But when viewed in context, these are not signs of a man intoxicated with his own ego. They're signs of a man so blinded by his hunger for belonging that he cannot see the needs of those closest to him. His wife becomes collateral damage in his obsession, not because he doesn't care, but because he is consumed by his own isolation. Narcissists devalue others to inflate themselves. Craig, on the other hand, neglects others because he is grasping desperately for anyone who will include him. The film captures this alienation with tiny, devastating jokes. Take the running gag about the new Marvel movie. Craig just wants to see it, to share in a cultural moment that everyone else seems to have already had. His wife is busy with her ex, his son has already seen it, and his co-workers spoil the ending in front of him. It's played for laughs, but it cuts deep. Craig isn't asking for much, just to be included. And yet he's always late, always excluded, and always on the outside looking in. And that's why when Craig meets Austin Carmichael, everything changes. Austin is charismatic, magnetic, and surrounded by friends who reflect his charm right back at him. To Craig, he feels like the antidote to years of invisibility. For Craig, Austin is not just a person, he's a symbol. What we get to witness is Craig's voyeuristic obsession with Austin. He doesn't just want to be his friend, he wants to be him, or at least to be reflected positively in his eyes. Austin becomes a kind of emotional mirror onto which Craig projects everything he believes a man should be. But in idolizing Austin, Craig fails to see him clearly. He misses Austin's insecurities, his struggles at work, and the pranks played on him by colleagues. Rather than seeing Austin as a flawed human being, Craig objectifies him as a social ideal. But Austin isn't the cure that Craig hopes for. After a heavy social blunder, Austin abruptly drops Craig. He doesn't give Craig the benefit of the doubt. The rejection cuts Craig deeply because this wasn't just about friendship, it was about finally belonging. And suddenly, Craig is back in the void. Desperation has a way of distorting behavior. Nowhere is that clearer than in one of the film's most unsettling scenes, the soap in the mouth moment. After sucker punching Austin and realizing his error, Craig punishes himself by shoving a bar of soap into his mouth, evoking the language of childhood discipline, punishment for saying the wrong thing or for being bad. It's uncomfortable, but it's also deeply sad. We begin to see that Craig's dysfunction could be rooted in old wounds, in abuse, and in shame never addressed. His adult relationships are shaped by the same logic. When you fail socially, you must be punished. This shame is at the core of his loneliness. Craig's desperation only deepens. His growing obsession with Austin leads him to decision after decision, each trying to recreate the spark of acceptance he felt. He buys ancient artifacts to impress his colleagues. He organizes a sewer adventure to replicate the thrill of bonding and reignite a spark in his marriage, but quite literally loses his wife. Each of these moves is absurd, comedic, and incredibly cringeworthy. As an audience, we laugh. The laughter comes with a wince, because each failure is rooted in something understandable. The desperate desire to get back the fleeting magic of belonging. These choices are not the calculated moves of a manipulator, but the impulsive grasps of someone who just can't get it right. We see this dynamic play out in one of the film's sharpest juxtapositions, the mayoral campaign pitches. Craig pitches a campaign about friendship, about connection, about belonging. However, his colleague counters with a campaign about being a flashy superhero, powerful, admired, and untouchable. It's a small moment in the story, but it stings. It shows us the fault line that runs through the film and through society itself. That we reward performance and dominance, not vulnerability and the need for closeness. Craig's truest desire to connect is once again dismissed, just as he himself is dismissed by nearly everyone around him. This is again seen in the fact that Craig's job is about making phone apps more addictive, more enticing, and yet he cannot do the same thing to himself or for himself, and instead falls victim to the endless scroll. As Craig's isolation mounts, his decisions become more chaotic, more reckless. He cannot let go of the thing he almost had, the thing he wanted so badly. He breaks into Austin's house, steals his gun, and crashes his party, desperate to wedge himself back into Austin's orbit. But what he finds there is even more crushing. Austin has moved on. A new friend has entered the group seamlessly and without any apparent effort. The magic Craig fought, begged, and humiliated himself for, this newcomer seems to have obtained it instantly. And for Craig, that's devastating. This is why calling Craig a narcissist misses the point. He constantly recognizes his role in his social failures, even exclaiming, "I did one strange thing and I'm toast." He isn't grandiose. In fact, he's insecure to the point of self-destruction. He doesn't seek admiration for status, he seeks inclusion. He isn't manipulative. If anything, he's naive, unable to read others well enough to exploit them. What Craig lacks is not empathy or humanity, but the social skills to express them. His selfishness is situational and born of desperation. Austin, for all his charm, isn't blameless either. He masks his own insecurity with easy confidence. His contradictions, claiming not to carry a phone while carrying one, and covering his baldness with a toupee, reveal that his image of ease is carefully constructed. In shielding Austin during the toupee reveal, Craig displays more empathy than Austin ever shows him, perhaps stemming from his own awareness of the cruelties of being mocked and outcast by others. The man everyone mocks as socially inept is paradoxically the one capable of true compassion. By the end of Friendship, Craig's relentless, flawed pursuit of connection feels tragic but also profoundly relatable. Each cringe-inducing choice, each absurd misstep is both hilarious and heartbreaking because it's speaking to something real. His loneliness mutates into obsession, his yearning warps into comedy, but the root is familiar, a universal hunger to be seen, understood, and included. Craig Waterman is not a narcissist. He is a man undone by isolation and lost in the invisibility of emotional hunger. in the painful, absurd, and sometimes grotesque ways that desire manifests when there's no welcome outlet for it. And that's what makes friendship so brilliant, and so painful. It's hilarious, sure, but the laughter comes with a lump in your throat. The absurdity works because it's rooted in something real. Craig Waterman holds up a mirror we can't quite look away from, no matter how unbearable it is to watch. Because in his humiliation, his persistence, and his longing, we see ourselves, flawed, hopeful, and always reaching for connection, even when we don't know how. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you liked this content, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. In case you missed it, everything I share here is my personal take and opinion. The beauty of media is that it can mean different things to different people, so I would absolutely love to hear what you thought about the film Friendship and whether or not Craig Waterman is a narcissist.